We're excited to have another amazing batch of artists, some collectors, some enthusiasts, everyone here with us. If you're not familiar with the New Bedford Light, we launched in the summer of 2021 as a non-profit, non-partisan, local online news outlet. With a staff of over 10 journalists, we dive deep into the stories that matter to our community while taking time to celebrate the cultural richness that makes New Bedford such a special place. But don't worry, no hard-hitting questions tonight. Tonight we have 6 local artists. They will each present 2 pieces of work. We'll hear about their background, their creative process, and just kind of how things come to them and ends up on the canvas. Questions are encouraged. If there's anything that catches your eye, maybe you have that one wall at home that just needs something, it's lacking a little bit, everything here is for sale. All of the transactions will be directly with the artist, so seek out the artist. Also, all their contact information is in the programs. After it's over, we're going to invite everyone to stick around for a 30-minute afterglow, which is kind of a loose conversation about local arts and the local arts community. And now let's welcome our real hosts here. So we have Taylor Hickey. Taylor is a printmaker, bookmaker, and sculptor working here in New Bedford. Born in Southeast Texas, she earned a bachelor's degree in drawing and printmaking from McNeese State University in Louisiana. She went on to earn a Master's of Fine Arts in printmaking here at UMass Dartmouth in 2021, developing a body of work that pays homage to the human endeavor in order to understand the universe at large. Devin Maved McLaughlin, right over here. He's a multifaceted artist based here in New Bedford. He uses an array of styles and mediums in his art, ranging from classical to abstract. Native to the South Coast, New England, he finds an endless source of inspiration in the surrounding mix of post-industrial cities, rural landscapes, and the Atlantic. Maved's passions lie in connecting and developing creative communities and cultivating an appreciation for the arts. He is frequently involved in teaching painting workshops and educating individuals through schools, museums, and private instruction. Give it up for Maved. All right, and at this point, I will turn it over to our hosts.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you very much.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the New Bedford Light Fine Arts Club, where local artists show and sell. If you aren't familiar, the New Bedford Light is, like Brendan said, a community news organization, nonprofit, digital, grassroots newspaper, and they write some really awesome articles, address things that are really important to our community, and they're great supporters of the arts and humanities and the culture here in New Bedford, and we really appreciate them. And this is New Bedford Light's Fine Arts Club, which meets once every other month in a different venue. And it's sort of like a show and tell for local visual artists. They're going to bring in 2 of their artworks each and spend about 5 minutes talking about those artworks, presenting them to you, and meet some other artists, some collectors, people who just like art and are looking to get a great deal buying artwork directly from a local artist. Each artist has 5 minutes. We'll have a little bit of time for Q&A afterwards, so raise your hand if you have a question. You can just yell it out and we'll repeat it over the microphone just so everyone can hear, and then our artist will respond. And afterwards, we do have that 30-minute afterglow, so if you think of your question a little bit too late, or you just want to approach that artist directly, buy some artwork from them, or just chat with them, challenge them to Dance Dance Revolution, whatever you want, you're more than welcome to do so. So with that, I want to introduce our first artist of the evening. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Dawn Hammontree.
And Dawn, just so you know, we're going to go a little bit longer than the 5 minutes, okay. So you have as much time as you want to talk, but try to fill up. Keep it entertained, all right?
Hello, my name is Dawn Hammontree. I'm an artist from Salem, Mass, but I used to work for the Standard Times back in the day, and still have some local connections here. I've started painting about 10 years ago. I've basically done a lot of stuff as in high school, grade school, and then kind of gave it up after college, and just returned to it on a lark. And 300 pictures later in a very crowded attic, I've got some pieces up here tonight that I'll show you. So this one is made in 2016. This is called Acushnet Avenue. It's of one of the things that I kind of like is kind of vintage signage. Kind of turns me on, and obviously that was. I took a pic. I work off of photographs mostly, and I think I've been on a walk in town and came across that, took a picture of it, and then came up with the idea of making a painting out of it. So, the pigeon and the guy weren't in the original photograph, but take some license there. So it's a few years old, and I've done a couple of paintings in New Bedford. This one hasn't sold yet, but I think it'll eventually find a home. I'd like to. It was a good one for me to hone my typography skills on. So, and this one is more recent. This is from 2019. This is in Union Square in Somerville, and this is another one where I just took a picture. Took a picture while I was kind of wandering through the area, and I just was kind of struck by that, and took the picture, and thought, this is I do that. I do a lot of photography, looking for that type of thing. And here's this one, and I have a lot of paintings that are of Massachusetts. Surprisingly, not a lot of Salem, which I've been living for the last 8-9 years, but a Fall River, Taunton, Brockton, a couple of New Bedford, Boston, Lawrence, a lot of mill cities, and I'm really into like old buildings, architecture, and all that. So those are my paintings.
Don, I had a question here.
Yes.
So your style seems to be very graphic. You have a lot of these really nice, even colors and flat planes. It feels almost cut out in some ways. How did you arrive at your style?
That's all accidental. That just all happened. Honestly, I mean, when I first started painting, it was at the encouragement of my kids. I was kind of just sketching around with them. And my daughter eventually she got an art degree herself. And she was like, Dad, you draw pretty well. You should do something. And I don't know what, I can't remember what the thing was that made me get back into it, but I started painting buildings and cars, and then I got into signage and vintage stuff, and it just is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I had no illusion about what I was doing. I just kind of went with it, and I liked, every painting came out a little bit different, but there was always something that was unique about it. So, it just came out that way, really. So there was no rhyme or reason.
It may have been an accident, but it was a happy accident.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have some questions in the room. So,
yes.
I would just like to say I really love the perspectives that you choose. I think it's like a really unique perspective. And as far as if it's accidental or not, it follows the rule of nines like crazy perfectly, especially that one. It's just a very interesting viewpoint, and I like your seagull in the land.
I like I said, I was a photographer kind of first, and then just try to translate as much of that into the painting. Sometimes I'll have a photo and start drawing it, and then I'll realize that, I didn't leave enough room for this or that, and so then you just kind of take the license and go with it. So I saw somebody else.
When I first saw your art on the websites, I actually thought it was a digital drawing. Have you ever done digital art, or would you ever consider doing digital art?
The only thing I've done is when I first. The only thing that I've really done is back in the day when digital photography was still kind of in its stages.
there were different programs where you could like put filters on it. You have like watercolors and things like that. And I used to do that, but I've never really like done digital or anything like that. Now my daughter, she's an animation major, and she does all digital. So yeah, so I keep on telling her, why do you do some paintings? I don't want to do that.
You guys should try each other's.
Yeah, we could swap. Yeah. So
yes. So what are you working on next?
You know, it's funny. I was just working on. So my car is actually. I was in Fall River. I used to live in Fall River, so that was kind of like my home base. And I was at my favorite like pizza place, sketching things out right before I came here. And I'm working on a painting of sketching out a picture of an old theater in Chicago that's been turned into a church on the south side. And it's really interesting because they took all the windows and kind of just put all this stonework in it, and it's kind of unique, And I get a lot of inspiration, not in these two, because I took my own pictures for that, but I also go on Google Street View a lot and just go through random places and cities, and we'll find like captures of different architecture, buildings, scenes that are almost art themselves, and then I try to put those in paintings. So people always, I've done pictures of like India, Pakistan, South Africa, and people are like, oh, you're really well traveled. And I'm like, no, I'm not really. Well, I mean, yeah, I've been places, but yeah, it's not as exotic as you think. I just went there on Street View, yeah. So.
Do we have any other questions from our audience? I have a quick question for
Yes.
you, Don.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you have a favorite style of architecture, or favorite styles.
It's funny. Yeah, I do actually. I was actually thinking about up until my sophomore year of high school. That was the kind of the career path I was going into until I decided to go into journalism, which we'll live and learn, I guess. But actually, it's funny. I like brutalist architecture. I'm like one of the few people that I know that actually like some brutalist architecture. Like UMass Dartmouth is, spectacular. I mean, none of those buildings are built well. I mean, they always have leaks and they're cold and everything. But because I went, my alma mater, the University of Illinois Chicago, is totally like concrete. And it was always leaking and cold and freezing and inhumane. But there's some sort of like space age kind of, whimsy about those places. And you see a lot of it like in Russia and Eastern Europe. And some of it's awful, but some of it's like amazing. So yeah, so I get up on that. But I also like Victorian old stuff. I've gotten into mid-century modern a lot. There's no rhyme or reason to the stuff that I like. I mean, it's it's all just what I see, and if I like it, I like it, and if I don't, I don't. So yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much.
Oh yeah, I got to take pictures.
Right, so in between artists, we're going to switch out the artwork and introduce the next artist up. The next person that's going to be showing is going to be Laurence Walsh. We have two pieces by Laurence. One is a portrait of his aunt, who was born in 1911. That one is going to be $1,200, sorry. And then A Friend in a Costume is the other one that we have putting up right now. And it's from the Not Quit Costume Dance, summer of 2001. Now, I also wanted to point out to you folks here, the screens will display the artwork as well. So you can't see the actual artwork up here, which we do encourage you guys to come and take a closer look at the end. Take a look up at the screens. It's nice to see a big full view. And Laurence, you're up. Welcome, Laurence.
Good evening.
Oh, I think it got turned off.
Hello? It's on.
Yeah, it's on. All right.
Okay. Larry Walsh is what I go by. My mother called me that.
All right.
I've been at this a bit, long time. I'll bring you up to how I've gotten here. in my normal early paintings, I started portraits. Way back when I was in the military and had people, I didn't have photographs, I just had people, and I'd do something with squadron or something, this, and they put it up in the hanger. And I'd move on, and so went the pictures. I wasn't able to keep them, so lots have gone by the wayside. And then life gets back in, and I take some courses. I've done enough figure drawing, model drawing, every course you can imagine I've done, all of which is maybe a C-class student. And so I painted on and off. And to high speed, at the end, I have a big resume you can have. I have a bunch of them. And I also have a binder book that shows maybe 60 or 70 of this. But I'll bring you up to where I am here. And in the last 5 years, I went and took some formal art courses again, wanted to get more into color, and it was just a failure. Painting a portrait of somebody in the middle of a room 60 feet away is very hard. So I lost interest, but got encouraged by another teacher, and so I brought it on. Like the gentleman before me, I use photographs predominantly. It could be, in this case, this is an old black photograph of my aunt. It's maybe a 5x7, and I've done it a half dozen times. This is a photograph I took last year, or the year before, at a party. So what I do is I usually find something I like, which we all do. In this case, it was the costume. And clothing I started to get into a little bit, and it's really challenging. And then this one was, having done it a couple times, how do I get away from what is black and white and straight? So what I find after 5 years of doing this, I sometimes start a portrait with the background first, because I want to put the lady over it. But then guess what? I obliterate my pencil lines and have to start again. Not too fun. So then I make grids, and I lose my pencil lines again. So then I think, okay, I'm going to put the lady in first, and then put the background later, which looks horrible because I'm crossing all the hair out and have to come back and do it again. So I'm still struggling. So can anybody here think of where I start and what keeps me into a portrait?
I mean, that's beautiful. Very eyes.
Eyes per se. When I get the eyes, and if it's a portrait I like with the right eyes, and if I get it right, they're wonderful. And if I slightly miss it, you can't get them to come out. So I start with the eyes in both cases, and then I work out from that, and then I leave them. Maybe just a little, and then I go out and do the background. So I go back and forth and come in and out. But the eyes have to keep, that's the only thing the portrait to me means anything. If you come into a room and you look at a portrait, now this lady is not looking at us. But you know that, by the way I have her looking. This one, she's looking at me. And some of the others I have, I'm told in my class, if I put them up before the end of the class, they get annoyed because nobody can stop looking at them. So the whole thing in the portraits are, as opposed to not the other work, but my work is, when you go by a portrait, our portrait world is pretty blank, three-dimensional, very recorded, very historical, and it's hard to get into them. No, that's new stuff. But when you get into this, and you're looking, what is she looking at? What's happening here? It raises questions. So that's where I am. And I pick. I ask this lady, you kind of have to ask, but mainly it's children, grandchildren, friends, wives, whatnot. And I just, sometimes you take a picture of a crowd. If you ask somebody to pose for you, it's terrible. They're self-conscious, it's awful. And if you take a crowd, all of a sudden there's somebody just like this, it's interesting, that works, but it's usually small and it's hard to get up. But when you get it further up, and you'll see by some of my other work, it's kind of fun. So that's the essence. I'm having more fun in the future. I'm going more out to clothing. Think of Singer Sargent, his head is very small, it's all clothing. And clothing is not a cakewalk. When you get into it is tough, and that's not a good one. I'm getting better. But, I started very simple. So the question is, do you have a portrait encompassing the woman or the person, or do you just have a portrait overhead? What? So I'm having more fun with a full scale, which trying to keep enough head that it focuses. So that's where I am. I do it like the gentleman before me. They're all over the place. And many of them are, you get so far and you lose the eyes. I just put it aside. And I'm going to come back and fix it. It's real hard to get back to. So then something spikes my interest, boom, I do it again. And so I got them in iterations. Now, I've been an architect for 60 years of my life, amongst many other things. And when I'm doing a house, can you hear me without this? Or do you need
It's hard. It's better with a microphone.
I need, okay. Well, as an architect, I've had a shop with 10 or 12 people, 2 people myself, but I have 3 to 4 projects open at one time. And I have 5 or 6 portraits in progress at one time. And I had a gentleman tell me last year, that's not real art. You're just mass producing. And not really, because in architecture, what I'm doing on your project, I go, that's perfect over there. And so you can kind of play with it. Well, when I get to portraits, it's not that this is the same as this, but wow, I got the color on the lips. I'm going to come over and put that over here. So you begin cross-pollinating in a fun sort of way, and it stretches them out of their own existence. So I just keep going and have some fun, and that's about it. Any questions, please?
Do you have any questions or comments?
Larry, amazing presentation. I think that was absolutely great. What I really liked about it is that you talked about your process a little bit. And if anybody here has ever painted a portrait, then you know the same struggle of what do you put in, the background, the foreground? Do you mass out the figure first? Starting from the eyes is something that I work almost completely opposite with that. I put the eyes in last on my paintings. But I love that you find that the soul of the painting at the beginning, and then you build the rest around it. I think that's really interesting. The other thing that I was curious about, the piece over there, you said that was from a black and white photo. How did you land on the colors that you chose for that? Because the color story on that is phenomenal. It's very interesting, just the colors alone, let alone the portrait in that stare. It's wonderful.
It's hard to get away from black and white, good shadows and whatnot, and I tend to gravitate dangerously right towards smoothing everything out and making it all work. And you kind of sometimes you just got to go crazy, and this one went south, and I put it on the floor because I couldn't get it to work. So I picked it up a month or 2 later. I said, "Oh, I know what I'm going to do." So, "Oh, that's kind of fun." And then as I dragged it around, but you can see I didn't get it into the hair as much. I just worked here. So it seeps in, and then this is a little different configuration. And a lot of times my wife will say, "Wait a minute, she doesn't have blue eyes." I said, "Well, that's editorial freedom. You know, and why does everybody have blonde hair, red hair?" I said, "I like red hair. I used to have red hair." And so there is a justification. So now I'm going to have fun, and I may do a beautiful Singer Sargent dress, but may have one of my friends in the dress. And they're going to say, "Who, what?" Then it's taking a step forward. So,
Beautiful, great. And I have one final question here. The medium that you chose, Is it oil? Is it acrylic?
It's pure oil.
Pure oil. Very nice.
Awesome. And I've tried. My daughter's a painter and a designer, and she works in acrylic and sharp pencils. Acrylic is dead dry in about 4 seconds, and so it doesn't move around. Now that's bad for me. On the other hand, the oil is alive for 4 to 5 days, and that's another reason I have 4 or 5 portraits open, because I get so close, I gotta let it dry, and then I'll go do it. And so I back and forth to the product. Penciling and drawing, how I get the image here, nobody's asked me. And this is where I feel like I'm cheating a little bit. I have a photograph, like everybody. And I used to then make a drawing in paper, on a separate paper. Then I would graph the paper, and I would graph my canvas. And you'll see on a lot of my portraits, you'll see remnants of the graph, so that I can get the eyes into proportion. Because if it's not proportion, it's not whether who she is, it doesn't work. And so then sometimes you can get a bit quicker. I sometimes graph just a photograph, small photograph, and then I put it up on my TV screen right next to my easel. Now I'm just going, oh, this is quite easy. So I'm really cheap. And so, but who cares? I mean, everybody uses mirrors and grids and whatnot. So, you know, then I change it. Then I come in, if I'm working on this, the hat's too small, I make it bigger. Or she didn't have any red in the hat. She had shorter hair. So you kind of do that. My aunt here is about 20, I think, and brown hair, and, you know, it had to be about the 1930s. So you just kind of go. And these are, you know where I get a lot of my frames now, as of late? Is Cove Antiques. And I go over, and there's another antique place over by Kyle's Fish Place or something. And they're a little higher end. So what you do is you go through there. Let's say these two are not, but if I have this, I usually find something bigger, and then I cut it down or change it. And I buy a piece of stuff in the center that's not too good. So you don't find empty frames, but anyway, so that's where I am.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Larry.
All right, everyone. Please welcome our next artist of the night, Schlieder.
So thanks, I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad I'm here. I actually did the New Bedford Light one other time, but it's when it was virtual, so it's really cool to actually be able to show you guys in person. Yeah, so I'm originally from New Hampshire. I moved to New Bedford, honestly, right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. So it's been really nice to kind of see everything come alive again. I am a multimedia artist. I do acrylics. I started out live painting in the festival scene at concerts. So when you're doing that, acrylics are really nice because, like you said, they dry in 4 seconds, so you can kind of keep layering. In 2020, I started painting oils, and I'm in love with them. So here we are in my small apartment with not very much ventilation. So this one is called Totem of Higher Self. Basically, it's a piece that shows a place that you can go, whether it's through breath work or meditation or safe and intentional psychedelic use that connects you to a collective consciousness. It's a place you can go to ask your unmaterialistic, higher, wiser self about what paths you should take. It features the net of being, which has been featured in art since I'm a huge Egyptology nerd. So it's in the future. Since then, and random, not random, but artwork all over the world. And then there's some light language in here, and some eyes to stare at you. So a little weird, definitely colorful. One thing I always hear is that my art is very colorful, which is funny because when I started doing art, it was all pencil. I was terrified of color. So I don't know what happened, but now it's screaming color, and it'll brighten any room. And then this is called Meet Me Here. It's a little piece I did. 2 dragons taking a break from some interdimensional travel to snack on some apples. Yay. Really what this is about is, since I was young, more so when I was young, I had very strong control of my dreams when I'm dreaming. So when I was little, I used to, in my dream, go into the back of the Sears, and I'd walk to the door of the Sears, like, employees only, and I would open up to a room, and there's this giraffe guy in there and a bunch of doors, and you're like, what door do you want tonight? And I'd choose a door, and thus the adventure would begin. In my adult life, I lost that for a little bit. I think we kind of lose touch with our creative selves, but I'm trying to be more diligent, and everyone else should be, about tracking your dreams in a journal. And really, when you start to wake up, that's when I personally have more control of my dreams and start to realize, oh, I'm dreaming. So can you get yourself to stay in that dream? Are you about to, sometimes you like lose control because you're trying to control it so much, but yeah, I like exploring different worlds and a lot of weirdness in my paintings. But if that's not your thing, I definitely encourage you to check out my website, because I do landscapes and completely normal, but still very colorful. And yeah, in New Bedford, just what I'm about, since it's a lot of my first time meeting a lot of you. I have a studio in the Kilburn Mill, and I do one-on-one expressive classes for children. I'm not as technically skilled because I didn't go to college, but I think, I think all kids deserve really one-on-one time that necessarily isn't found in modern education. So for them to come to a place where they can use my digital stuff and they can use any of my supplies and learn how to build like a website and feature their work. So I do that, and I am, you guys are welcome to submit. I know there's other artists here. I have a small art lit magazine going. So definitely things to check out. If anyone has questions.
Any questions from our audience? I have one really quickly. So I was wondering if you have any specific music that you like to listen to, because you mentioned like the festival scene, and it's, some of these are calling to mind, like Pink Floyd, Grateful Dead, some stuff. I'm curious like what you listen to in your life.
I actually love classical music, but I definitely listen to a great amount of Pink Floyd, Grateful Dead, of course. But when I am painting, I listen to everything, but something about like orchestral, dramatic music is kind of cool. Lyrics sometimes get in the way of that, but if I'm listening to music live, the Grateful Dead. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Hello? Hey guys, thank you so much for coming out, and thank you to the New Bedford for hosting me here as well, in addition to all the other wonderful and talented artists. My name is Michael Yurkovskiy. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, and I moved to Massachusetts in 2019 after graduating to pursue school and employment opportunities. So I'm actually currently in school right now at Bridgewater State University. I'm not studying art, I'm actually studying a very boring subject, accounting. But nonetheless, art has always been a lifelong passion of mine. So the painting right here that is to my right is called the Rose Academy. It's not really an actual building that exists, but the inspiration behind it is just kind of like my personal fascination with Venetian, Italian type architecture. As you can see, it kind of has that look to it, sitting on a river with a little like rose garden in front. It's supposed to really kind of like resemble like a school where students go to study. I also like the architecture that's also found in New England too, as far as like some of like the older schools and the way that the buildings are so detailed and so intricate compared to like what you see like in modern and more contemporary buildings that are like just box structures. So that's really kind of the inspiration behind here. And then to my left is kind of like I guess on the darker side of what's to my right. But this one is called the Palace of the Shadow King. And I don't know if you guys like are familiar with like the Sandman, but that's kind of like supposed to be like, I guess like the Shadow King, the Sandman's like fortress. I've read, as a child, I read a lot of Gothic horror novels. And some of them have mentioned like haunted castles, so I thought I'd bring an image like this, you know, to life here. So basically that's kind of the inspiration about these paintings. There's not a whole lot to say here. But I picked these two specifically because they contrast each other so well. This one's kind of like a light academy version, and this is kind of like a dark academy here, so good contrast between the two. Yeah. Anyone have any questions?
Have you seen Fairhaven High School?
Have I seen what?
Fairhaven High School?
I believe I have driven by it, yes.
Wicked cool.
Yeah.
Reminds me very much of it.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the one on the left, there's a building in Seville, Spain, that I thought that was exactly what it was, but yeah, check it out. Tourist brochures and stuff like that.
I'm actually planning a trip to go to Italy next month with cousins, so like you'll also be taking pictures of some of the buildings and architecture I see there.
Yeah.
Use that as an inspiration for a future project.
Is it oil or acrylic?
Acrylic. And both of these took about 16 hours to create, give or take. I mean, the actual sketch is really what's the most difficult part. So what I do is I do like a detailed sketch of the buildings. Otherwise, if I just start painting, I know I'm gonna like completely lose symmetry and it's gonna be off-centered. So by sketching it with a pencil and having everything outlined, the actual painting process is a lot easier. Some artists don't really sketch, they kind of just grab a brush and go straight into painting, but I do a lot of sketching. I use a ruler to kind of measure everything out so that it is straight, or at least to the best of my ability. And then, yeah, I pick like a centerpiece of what I define to be my center, and then just kind of go from there, honestly.
Are you looking at a photograph when you're doing these, or you're doing this from your head?
So both of these are referenced from an image I pulled from the internet, but then I kind of tweaked it a little bit and modified it to something that feels within my imagination. Awesome. Thank you.
Alright, so our next artist is Tripp. Welcome up, Caitlin.
Caitlin. I actually run my business, Art by Caitlin. This is my second year as a registered small business, which is pretty awesome. Also, this is my third time presenting with the New Bedford Fine Arts Club, which was pretty cool. This has been a great opportunity, and I'm sure other artists feel the same way about being here and presenting, so I appreciate it. So I have these two pieces here with me. I'll present this one first. This one is Kirby in Space. I thought it was appropriate since we're here at Play Arcade. I actually have a print hanging that I actually, I guess, donated to Play Arcade. So the print is there hanging in the main area, but this is the original painting. It's a 16 by 20 acrylic, and it's framed in a white frame. And originally, I actually did a live painting here, again, appropriate for the venue. I was outside painting this portrait along with another nonprofit organization, Gnome Surf. So there's a lot of different features here. So Kirby surfing, because Gnome Surf, and then Kirby being in outer space. A lot of my artwork revolves around astronauts and space, and also, yeah, surfing on rainbow, just to make it colorful. And I think there's like a new Kirby game that came out too, so he's I think it's Space Ranger Kirby. But anyway, it's video game appropriate. And then I have a lollipop moon. You'll see that in a lot of my artwork as well. I have an original piece that I did of an astronaut on top of a lollipop moon, and I always thought the lollipop kind of resembled the moon, where if it's all bitten up, it's got craters and textures similar. They have similar textures with each other, so I thought it was just a fun, whimsical thing that I could add to my artwork. You'll see in a lot of my artwork as well, space animals, and then with lollipop moons. But it's just, there's nothing really, there's no like deeper meaning into it. It's just, I guess, part of my personality to like just whimsical, fun, and colorful. Just try to have that included in a lot of my art. So that's this piece here. And then I have this one. This one is called Lost and Found. And it actually came about from salvaged paint. I think a lot of other artists could, I'm trying to think of the right words, but a lot of other artists I know have a lot of paint that they have to use, leftover paint. So that's where the background came from, the colors. I had some paint left over, and I actually did make a series with the astronaut in the lollipop. He's just holding a lollipop, but I have a series where he's in kind of different universes, I guess you could say. Like there's some paintings that I've already sold that have him with different backgrounds. It almost just looks like he's like in a different universe. I don't know, just something I came up with. I have some where he's got plants around him, and there was another one I made where he has mountains behind him. So it's just been having a lot of fun with this particular series of paintings. So this is the only one I have right now within this style, and I find myself making a lot of geometric patterns within my artwork too. I think the last time I was here I had just an abstract painting with just the geometric patterns. So I like to include that in my artwork as well. But that's pretty much it.
Do we have any questions from the crowd for Caitlin? I was going to mention, I really like the way that you've kind of used those colors side by side there. You have really interesting teals at the top and those, kind of deeper, almost Mars colors on the bottom. And you said that was a reoccurring character for you, the spaceman, the astronaut?
Yeah, so again, the original was like him on top of the lollipop moon, but I've had other paintings where he's just holding the little lollipop, and just different backgrounds. And yeah, so I'm not really good at titling artwork, but I found that this one being called Lost and Found, it's like he keeps keeps getting popped into different planets, different universes. So I thought that it was an appropriate title, and maybe he'll end up in another universe in my next painting.
Yeah. I like that you created lore around the artwork, and you have these repeating themes going through. So it's almost like little hidden Easter eggs in each one of your pieces of artwork, and I think it's really unique and interesting way to approach it. So good job. I like that.
Thank you.
Is that painting you mentioned, is that the same collaboration?
Oh, so I have been trying to make merchandise as well. I've been trying to put my artwork on mugs and T-shirts, so it just becomes more available for people to like have on different parts. But yeah, this is one of the lollipops. I had a pink one and a green one where he's just standing, but this one is very unique. He's laying down almost lazily on top of the lollipop moon, but this is kind of where everything got inspired from. These three, I don't have the other two with me, but these three original paintings, like, is where it kind of all started. So yeah, this is one of them.
Are those available on your website?
Yes, they are.
Okay, which is listed in the papers that you all have. So if you guys had an interest in any kind of merchandise or your shirts, it's going to be on
yes, artbycaitlin.com.
All right, great. Any other questions? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan Santos out of Dartmouth is up next.
Hello everybody. So I'm Ryan Santos, world famous Ryan Santos. I was born in New Bedford. I started my art career and art learning in New Bedford, and I went to New York City and learned how to paint for real. So I'm a classically trained oil painter. So these are actually oil on paper, which is kind of something I've kind of been doing lately. So I do the whole process from beginning to end, underpainting, oil paint, color on top, make it look great. That's what I do. So these are illustrations more than kind of fine art stuff, but I do fine art also, but these are more illustration work. I do a lot of conventions, I do a lot of like comic book shows and all that stuff, and people are looking for specific characters. So I really kind of, I look to make money. So I like to make, everyone loves Grogu, right? And everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people like the classic monsters. So that's kind of where this is. These kind of pieces are kind of aimed towards that. I also do landscape like everyone does, you know, the lighthouses and the water and the seagulls. I do all that too. I teach painting classes in New Bedford at Hatch Street. And I teach classic oil painting from beginning to end, like the masters. So if you ever want to learn how to paint for real, let me know. So these are oil paint, and that's basically what I do. I have nothing really to say about them. I brought them because of the atmosphere. They're perfect for the atmosphere. I could have brought something cool and artsy and say like painted by soul or whatever. Kind of said some kooky dooky things, but these are more kind of commercial and but they are done traditionally, and I think they look pretty nice. So thank you. All right. So anyone have any questions? Yeah. Okay, so the oil on paper is kind of like a newer thing for me, but I've seen it done before, and I was like amazed. Like I saw some guys painting on paper. I was like, how did you even get it on paper? I never even thought about it, because traditionally everyone does it on canvas because it has that kind of hold and has like the frame will hold it, and you're worried about warping and all this kind of stuff, or the paper kind of absorbing the oil. So what I do is I actually tape them down. I tape down my paper. It's pretty thick, like watercolor paper. I'll tape it down and I'll gesso it, let it dry. It usually doesn't warp. And then I'll either keep it taped down or I'll take it off. And then I'll just start painting in oil right on top. And it holds the oil really nice. And you get a different kind of a quality. It's almost because it's a smooth surface, so you get like a nice surface to paint on, rather than fighting against the texture of the canvas. So you get a nice surface. It works really well. Yeah.
Does it dry any faster?
It does dry faster, especially the first coat, because you're working, it'll absorb a little bit more. Because of that, the paper does absorb. So I start with like thin, I'll do an underpainting in a single color. So that'll usually absorb pretty good. So I do it relatively quickly and not get too concerned about detail. I just want to kind of get my layout in there, and it'll dry a little faster, and it does absorb into the paper. So it's a little different than you. Try it a few times, you'll have fun. Let me know how it works out. Yes?
Commission, they want a painting of these people?
Right, so this one was done because of the show that I was going to was a horror show, right? So the people that are going there are specifically looking for monsters and scary things. So I'll say, oh, I'm going to a show, I need something scary, or so I'll do a few, paintings like this. On the paper, it works really quickly, so I can kind of pump one of these out pretty quick, and then I'll make prints, and if I sell the original, that's great, but the prints is like a steady stream that'll just keep coming year after year. So it works out great for me either way. If someone wants to buy the original, I have them available at the shows, or if they just want to buy a print, then that's always great. So I work for Topps Trading Cards, so I do a lot of Star Wars stuff because I'm a Star Wars guy, so I do a lot of Star Wars stuff. So it's the same thing with another show I'll do is more Star Wars based, right? So a lot of people are looking for Star Wars, or the guest that's going to be at the show is a Star Wars person. So I'll do something Star Wars related just to have something on the table. So, yeah. Yes?
Do you have any convention shows or open studios coming up?
I have open studios, but I don't know when it is. What is it? The spring one? Yeah, so I share a room with Devin.
Yes.
Yes. We're a family. So we're all together in a studio at Hatch Street, so just look for us there, and you can come down and you can buy prints from me.
Hatch Street Open Studios, May 6th and 7th.
There you go. There you go. I'll be there, hopefully. I'll be there, and I have all my prints there. I usually set up like a convention. I put my little sign up. I'll have a table filled with all the stuff. I make prints that are actual size. I make greeting cards, all that kind of easy stuff to buy. And, I'm in it for the money. No, I'm not always in it for the money. But I also have a full, you can go and see the wall, and I have all kind of paintings that aren't specifically characters and stuff like that. Those days are few and far between where I get to make my work for me, because there's, time restraints and other things get in the way. So, my wife's over there, she's giving me the evil eye. But, yeah, so come down to Open Studios, enjoy the beautiful artwork of everybody that's there. It's a great time. Any more questions?
I have a quick one.
I have 2 shows in April. Oh yeah, I know. Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of shows.
Isn't there a place online where you can find your convention schedule?
Yeah, on Facebook I usually post my full convention schedule. I put it up because I'm very in demand. So I put my full schedule is on there on Facebook. I'm The Art of Ryan Santos. If you want to find me there, follow me and like and subscribe or whatever you gotta do. But yeah, come check me out. You can go back in the history and see all my work. It's all there. You can just kind of go scroll down and say, well, that's great, and like it. share it with your grandmother. She'll love it. So, yeah, any more questions? Hey! I'm the last one.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. So that does conclude all of the presentations that we have for the artists. Now is going to begin our afterglow. Go talk to the artists. You saw them all up here, but if you have any personal questions or if you want to purchase any of their artwork that you saw tonight, or if you have any interest in their other pieces of artwork, seek them out. They should be sticking around for a little while. Also, there's snacks over there in front of the skee-ball machines. There's pretzels and make-your-own nachos and cups of water. And we're in a great venue tonight. If you want to go and grab a drink, definitely go and do that. We'll be hanging out, so if you want to talk to myself, Taylor, or anybody else involved, please